Although it might seem like Domination is not necessarily the greatest place for missile cavalry, given the emphasis on holding objectives, I still think that missile cav can give you a great tactical flexibility and benefit in a number of situations, maybe not quite as strong as they would be in land battle just on paper, but still, definitely the horse archers for Kislev are the only dedicated missile cavalry we have, sort of traditional missile cavalry right now. They are quite good in terms of their melee stats. They are comparable to something like Marauder Horsemen or something where they have pretty solid melee stats. They pay for it in the fact that they're 600 cost. They also have the Kislev Buy Our Blood passive, which can make them unbreakable for a short period of time. 140 range with only 19 missile damage isn't amazing, but 3 AP per shot, not too bad. Again, 140 range can outcompete future missile cavalry options with shorter range. And certainly the hybrid stats of most Kislev units, these guys included, does mean that they can run down skirmishers much more effectively than other missile cav might be able to. Now, against Cathay, given Cathay's lack of tactical flexibility and general slowness, I guess, the fact that they want to try and keep their units together to maintain harmony, being able to have missile cav to pull your opponent's units out of position, threaten, vulnerable positions, in general, give you lots of flexibility and options in choosing where to engage and how to engage. Missile Cavalry definitely have a pretty good place in this particular matchup, and a few others. They've been used well against me playing as Slanesh. Today, though, Kislev versus Cathay, definitely my personal favorite matchup right now, given that it's two mortal factions. Got one Horse Archer in my starting army here, two in reserve. Constantine leading the way with a little Grom. Got 3 armored Kossars and 2 regular Kossars to round out starting army. Frost Maiden of Tempest in reserve. I'm starting to actually really like this Biting Wind spell. You guys will see me use that here. It does have a very long effect area. It's like a big noodle, big icy noodle basically, but you can use that in certain situations to kind of bounce it off unpassable terrain and utilize it to pretty good effect even in situations where you might not think you'd otherwise be able to. Griffin Legion and Zargard got 3 war sleds, 3 winged lancers, 1 snow leopard, the horse archers, and 1 more melee light cavalry, the Kossovite dervishes. Just for a quick comparison, you can see here 28-24 on attack and defense, 26-22 for the horse archers. So really, you don't pay much of a premium in terms of a stats decrease upgrading from the melee to the horse archers. Just wanted to point that out. Miao Ying for my opponent here. This is actually a game from ranked matchmaking when after the game's been officially released. So I am on ladder. You may occasionally catch me on there. Got a couple of Jade Halberds, cannon, some Jade crossbows, 1 Jade warrior, longbows in reserve with 2 Celestial Dragon Halberds, 2 more cannons, Jade Lancer, another Halberd. We've got 4 Jade warriors with swords, another Peasant Horseman, and 4 Peasant Long Spears. So let's jump in here and take a look. I'm definitely going to have my work cut out for me facing off against the cannons. This Mountains of Morn map does lend itself somewhat to cannon play, and more than that, because Grand Cathay's cannons can shoot in a pretty nice arc, they can fire up and over some of the impassable terrain and be able to rain fire down on those objectives. So I'm going to have to be careful to keep Constantine alive and Little Grom both relatively high value targets, Constantine especially. But my opponent here going for the center. We're going to bring these horse archers sweeping up and around and try and shoot the cannons if I can, maybe distract their shots. Of course, if the horse archers are getting shot, yes, it's not great. They're going to lose some models, but it's, less than half the cost of Little Grom and like a third of the cost of Constantine in order for, to bring them in. So just threatening here and being obnoxious with the horse archers is going to be the way. You can see my opponent diving over here. He's got these Jade Halberds and 1 Jade Sword coming to try and potentially take this objective here, or at the very least block my horse archers' advance. So already I'm potentially forcing my opponent to make some decisions about how he wants to deploy to respond to this threat. Of course, the speed of the horse archers, the fact that they can come in here. I think I even have just a shoot order for the time being to pull up and start firing some arrows off at this cannon crew. Of course, most cannon crews are very squishy. Grand Cannon, no exception. Only 20 armor, pretty low HP. A couple of volleys should be able to do some good damage, so we're going to unleash 1 volley there. It didn't even kill a single model, I don't think, but there you go. Go ahead and pull back behind the cliff and just kind of hide out there. Meanwhile, another cannon has been developed on this side with some more Jade crossbows. You can see firing off into my Kossars there in the distance. Kossars are a little bit bunched up because of the chokes here, but Konstantine's just hiding in the woods for the time being. No real reason to expose him to needless risk, at least right now. You can see the cannon switching targets onto the Little Grom. Again, I want to avoid taking damage on Little Grom if I can, but a few shots is not the biggest deal in the world, as we kind of pull Miao Ying away from the rest of her army as well. Going to develop some sleds and some more horse archers for additional flexibility. The sleds are another great hybrid unit. You guys have heard me talk about them plenty. Been seeing them, no doubt, in lots of Kislev play. Very, very strong in general. But let's see. The cannons should be able to respond okay. Getting some decent damage initially there. A couple of contact hits on the sleds. And I'm going to bring my Kossars up to potentially try and, like, occupy these chokes here so that Cathay can't easily get in and secure this objective. My opponent not really committing too many forces to try and capture the center right now, but definitely looking like he wants to. But nice hits from the cannon there on the sleds. Little Grom, again, taking a little bit of damage, but as long as I can spread it around, that should be just fine. Pulling away from Miao Ying there, again, just distracting. She's actually taking a little bit of damage from the archers, so very cost-effective so far. Almost half their damage value back. Granted, they have used about half their ammunition, but still, even just shooting Miao Ying is good. But look at this. Managed to sneak these horse archers through this gap, and we're going to take out the artillery crew here, or at the very least interrupt them. There's currently a bug with Cathay and artillery where it's very hard to actually remount the models. Almost impossible, in fact. So if we can even just disrupt and just tag the artillery crew so that they, you know, dismount, so to speak, from the artillery, that will be a great benefit. And even if I don't end up taking the units out, you know, tactically won't show on the damage value, but tactically that will be very useful. Even still, again, paying back half their damage value already. We've got these other horse archers, Kossovite dervishes moving to secure objective number 1. Objective number 3 already secured. My opponent did come in, though, with the halberds and whatnot and secure that center. So we'll keep the wide view for now and watch as I kind of advance here. These armored Kossars with their shields, they're still taking quite a bit of armor-piercing damage from the Jade crossbowmen. What is it, 6 AP per shot on those Jade crossbows. Not too bad, but the dervishes, the horse archers rather, do finally land home. Manage to dismount both of these cannons before they get routed off by Miao Ying here. So super, super useful, and has allowed me to come in here and not take quite as much cannon fire. The Kossars now, and armored Kossars, firing up at those Jade Warrior crossbowmen. These Jade Warriors here had been fighting the Kossars in melee, but now I've disengaged and just popped back, and we're shooting them point blank with pistols. Horse archers riding through there. Keep it from the foe. And officially did capture objective number 1, although immediately some peasant long spears are in a position to threaten. Meanwhile, in the center, Little Grom firing in here to this blob. We've got another sled. The sleds are having a saga all their own, just dealing armor-piercing anti-infantry all over this center here, trying to mop up these halberds and crossbowmen. The actual melee dervishes do get back, and looks like we didn't actually fully dismount these two crews. I thought we might have, but even still, dervishes are able to come in and interrupt another cannon. A nice response, though. My opponent bringing in some longmas, immediately going to come in and just wreck those dervishes on that charge. Horse archers out on the far side, shooting at a cheap target like peasant long spears isn't going to do them a lot of wonders in terms of value, and they also don't want to fight them in melee. But at the very least, we could potentially like pull away here and drag those spearmen off of the objective, right? More sleds being brought in here. Konstantin also been activated. He had just been hiding in the woods pretty much. I'm like, at this point though, yeah, the cannons are not so much of a threat. I think I can bring Konstantin in, help support the center objective. I also need to start healing my dread sleds. So we'll kind of form a little blob with Konstantin and then charge in with the sleds. In fact, Miao Ying is going to take the bait and just go straight after the Supreme Patriarch here. The other Supreme Patriarch, I should say, not Gelt, but their chariots, dread sleds, actually do get a nice little charge here, and their attack animations are such that with that charge bonus buff, they will actually get some damage in. Also the heal, the vigor refresh, melee attack buff. Keep in mind also that the AoE fire damage of Konstantin means that everything is lighting Miao Ying on fire. If she chooses to transform and heal, she would take less healing as a result. But over here, cannons are, yeah, you can see my opponent not able to remount them. He is actually going to just unsummon them here in a second, which is probably the right call. Kossars fighting Jade Warriors on the point. These Jade Warriors don't really have enough melee attack to get through the Kossars very quickly, so at least I will be able to hold for some time, even though that is a relatively light unit. Armored Kossars over here just admirably holding as well, holding back the Longmas, and those Jade Warriors even still back in the center. We've got Miao Ying fighting still Constantine. The Dread Sleds pull back, gonna get some volleys and then charge back in, try and break these halberds. I think there's another cannon coming in soon, though. Not quite yet from my opponent, but some more Longmas at the very least. And the saga of the spears versus the horse archers continues. Horse archers are eventually going to lose here, but almost do end up paying for themselves. I got a Zargard, though, to come in and just hold this objective. A Zargard, really, Cathay doesn't have a lot of tools for killing, like, high-tier armored defensive infantry. So these Zargard will be really good. They've got silver shields as well, 55% missile block chance. So the crossbowman, which is kind of the counter for armored infantry, is Cathay, or magic. Yeah, can't do a lot about magic except to just keep Miao Ying bottled up here and keep dealing damage to her. To that effect, Little Grom's still online with plenty of HP. He's got 80 kills, 600 value so far. Just firing into some various blobs, but also dealing some damage to Miao Ying. Dread Sleds pulling away from the threat of the Longmas. Longmas are sort of able to keep them bottled up, but not really. It's a little bit of an awkward engagement, definitely, for both sides, but the Dread Sleds still being able to fire in melee does give them somewhat of a benefit in that situation. More Horse Archers, too, coming up and around, just continuing to threaten my opponent's backline, maybe clean up some routing units, perhaps. Another great benefit of Horse Archers, right? In general, Missile Cavalry, for those of you guys who watch my channel for a long time, you'll know I'm a huge fan. In Total War Warhammer 1 and 2, in land battles, they were just one of the best units you could take for a variety of reasons. Here in Domination, again, I don't think they'll be quite as universally good, but they still will be quite strong in specific matchups, definitely. Here, the ability to just disrupt so far has been pretty solid. That being said, the Zargard and these other Horse Archers do eventually win out on that objective. We got Jade Warriors and Jade Halberds moving in, though, so more enemies on the horizon. I'm barely ahead on points, too, and ooh, here we go. Yeah, the wind spell. I was going to say, it came here, reflected off this, and now it's going to come and reflect off of this way as well. So actually hit quite a few units there. Between the bombardments and that wind spell, I've been able to generate some pretty good value so far on the Frost Maiden. Keep in mind, though, looks like Miao Ying is going to be popping a heal on herself. Nice regrowth to get her back up to strength, and also she's a pretty strong combatant, so I've got to be careful of that. Looks like some other AoE. Yep, another ice bombardment. Going to be called down. Does pretty good armor-piercing damage. Not quite as good as something like Searing Doom. Not quite as mana efficient, but it does enough damage to be able to contribute, certainly. And the Frost Maiden might get finished off by Miao Ying at this point, so I do need to just get as much value as possible before she goes down. Miao Ying going to pop another transform as the Frost Maiden dives in. We've got Celestial Halberds mixed in now at this point, which is really not great, but yeah, Miao Ying transformed back up now with the sleds still firing. She's going to give a melee attack buff with Immune to Psychology. That 58 melee attack on those Celestial Dragon Halberds. They just easily finish off the Frost Maiden, and they're going to also finish off Constantine here. Pretty brutal stuff. So characters down for me is not great, but we've been able to hold just the saga of the Armored Kossars here, getting some support of some Winged Lancers. And whatever happened to that other Horse Archer that I called in? Oh, they're over here just disrupting this entire back area, continuing to fire. They get their Unbreakable passive. So yeah, let's see. How much damage have they actually done? 1,000 damage value. Okay, so this is probably one of the ones that I brought in before and is now on their second run, but still been able to get back here and just continue to disrupt. If I could get at these cannons, that would be great, but I don't think I'm going to be able to, at least right now. Another cannon, the cannon shots land there and just wipe out that unit of war sleds fully, which is quite impressive, all things considered. Little Grom still firing, though, threatening Miao Ying as she tries to clean up what's left of the Griffin Legion. They're going to pull away there. I'm going to bring a Snow Leopard over to protect the Little Grom from Miao Ying, and some more Winged Lancers going to come over and try and help break this pocket, with more Winged Lancers supporting the Zargard. So all things considered, I'm in a pretty good position. We might end up losing this objective number 3, but I'm far enough ahead on points that I think my opponent needs to probably 3-cap me. Maybe not quite yet, but pretty close. Within a few hundred points, certainly, of the point of no return. Question is, will he be able to move his units onto secure? Just, again, using my cavalry to disrupt, not allow my opponent to really get clean engagements. Got more horse archers regrouped over here, more dervishes coming in as well. Miao Ying took the bait, is going to come try and get Little Grom, but this is a perfect situation for the Snow Leopard. Miao Ying's very wounded. Her vigor is starting to go back down again, even after that regrowth. She's frostbitten. She's going to pop the transform to try and not be subject to the bonus versus large, but even still, 42 melee attack on the Snow Leopard does mean that Miao Ying will get routed. I mean, not to mention, Little Grom also does anti-infantry AP, so her counting as infantry after the transform. Yes, it will help against the Snow Leopard, not so much against Meow. But look at that cannon damage. Man, only a couple cannon shots land and just do huge damage to the Snow Leopard. Snow Leopard's very, very squishy, like beyond squishy, but can be great in the right scenario. I brought some more, cavalry over to just try and run up in my opponent's back and try and get on that cannon, but right now it doesn't really matter too much. As long as we can push back these units, we've managed to hold that objective number 1. Miao Ying goes down. I missed her ignominious death to the Snow Leopard here, but Little Grom and the Snow Leopard are probably going to pay the price. You can see the Snow Leopard like feasting, kind of sniffing the body of Miao Ying here. Yeah, man, that cannon fire is brutal, though. This cannon in particular summoned multiple times, summoned twice only, actually, and 2,500 damage value, which is significant, but I'm even still about to win with almost a 3-cap, so although my opponent did play very well in terms of dealing damage, I mean, we're pretty close in terms of army damage value. Me being able to move up with the Kossars and whatnot and just secure the point, and likewise the Tsar Guard and the cavalry supporting each other on the opposite side, meant that my contest in the center was enough to actually win. And the horse archers definitely played a big role. Again, not a lot of them directly paid for themselves. One of them does. The others, this one kind of got brought in a little bit late. But these guys running up that back line, this other one here, I think, right? No, I think it was the one that I summoned that came in and shut down the cannons. Regardless, though, being able to shut down those cannons, you saw the damage they did even with the time they were allowed to fire, right? Imagine if they were allowed to fire over the course of the entire match. Would have been really bad for me. So the horse archers shutting them down was pretty clutch. Other Kossovite dervishes also come in and do some really nice light cavalry damage. In general, light cavalry is quite good here. The sleds also very cost effective, all pay for themselves. Zargard hold 117 kills, take very little damage, so objective fulfilled there. Frostmaiden also did pretty decent. I'm starting to come around to Lore of Tempest. I think there are some spells there worth taking. I need to play around more with Kislev magic and see really what's the most efficient to take. But anyway, Kostaltine doesn't pay for himself, but that's okay. Really, in my starting army, most things had a pretty rough day. All things considered, but the Kossars holding until the end was enough. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification every time I upload a new video. You'll be notified. Thank you once again for watching.